what I'll say is this, like as a parent, right? If you look at the bigger picture, I'm going to go really big picture here. If a child is meant to, as a soul, say, okay, you know what, I'm only here till the age of 4 and then leave, right? They could leave by several different means. They could use a car accident, they could use a type of cancer, they could use any all different kinds of means to be able to exit the planet because they were only here for a very short experience. They may have only been here to help mom or dad learn something. Okay, like I know there's one of you on this call where we've talked about this, where a child came in specifically to open a parent's heart, a parent whose heart was very, very, very closed and
Mm,
frozen, right? And this child came in, born into
mm,
that family, specifically to create that kind of bond with that parent, to have that kind of healing of opening a heart. And they had that soul agreement to do so, right? And then by the age of 2.5, all of a sudden diagnosed with a really intense type of cancer. And within another year or two, the child left and exited. And from a 3D perspective, it's like, oh my gosh, the loss and the void that we feel as a human is huge. And the grief, right, as a parent is huge. And yet they have a soul agreement to do this. And this person's heart did open, right? And it did soften them. It did make them more vulnerable. Tears for someone who wasn't able to cry before, who had to be the tough person, and the macho
mm,
person, allowed that to happen. And then sometimes the child even comes back, and they get pregnant again, and sometimes that soul comes back in the form of another child. Okay, so if we look at it from a bigger perspective, there's a huge program on this planet of needing to belong and to conform from the inverted matrix, right? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Does anyone not
yeah.
clear with what I'm talking about? There's a huge program of fitting in, wearing, and for kids in school, it gets so ingrained. If you don't wear the right clothes or the right running shoes or carry the right phone, there are so many little things that make kids feel inferior. And sometimes I feel like the worst thing a parent can do is help a child feel like they belong by doing those programs, right? Sometimes the best thing you can do for a child is to allow them to have the experience of what it feels like to not belong, because it's those children that when they grow up are able to think outside the box, and they're not stuck with these fears of fitting in and conforming, right? They're the misfits that go out and start to change the world. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
From a
Yeah.
parent, we're looking at them as little humans who need us. From a parent, we're looking at them as like, oh, they're in pain. I got to make the pain go away, right? But if you look at it from the bigger picture, they came here at this time to have this experience. And if we help keep that programming alive of helping them feel like they fit in, helping them feel like they may not be bullied, are we really actually preparing them for the bigger picture?